Warning. Gore. She wasn't fazed by his taunt at all. She didn't waste her breath, her eyes sharp as glacial shards, scanning him as he charged again, fist raised for another earth-shattering bound. She jumped out of the way. The shockwave of his impact sprang frozen mud and rock fragments past her. The ground trembled, but her footing remained sure. Zori, Sandals, and Tabizu, finding precise edges of the ice as she conquered beneath her soles. His strength was immense, his defense formidable, almost immune. Almost. The word was a crack in the stone armored like skin. She moved backward, her movements liquid grace against his brutal force. Another ground pound sent shock waves rippling through the frozen earth. But she was already airborne, propelling by a platform of ice that shattered beneath her feet as she landed slightly yards away. Snow was swirling around her, clinging to her robes, but never settling. "Stop moving!" The stone demon bellowed, frustration cracking his voice. He charged again, a mountain moving with terrible speed. She didn't dodge this time. Instead, she met his charge. Bettering low beneath his swinging arm, she conjured up a blade made of ice and slammed it upwards, aiming for the softer flesh beneath his jaw. The ice shattered across his granite chin. He roared, swatting her away like an insect. She flew backwards, skidding across the frozen ground, pain flushing her in her ribs. He limped after her, trumpeted. "Almost immune," she whispered, tasting blood on her lip. But incredible. Everything. Defense had its flaw. His arrogance was one. His eyes glowing red, unprotected, were around. He charged again, a landslide giving from. She stood her ground until the last heartbeat, then provoked sideways. His fist slammed past her, cascading the ice where she once stood. Momentum carried him forward, stumbling. There. The gap between stone plates and his knee joint, a shiver of vulnerable skin. Her hand shot out. Not a spear this time. A concerned blast of hyper-cold air, thinner than a needle, shot from her fingertips. It grazed the gap of the surgical precision. The demon roared, not in pain but from shock, as the freezing energy exploded inside his joint. Tendons snapped like frozen twigs. His legs buckled, gruesomely intertwined. He crashed face first into the snow, momentum skidding him forwards. However, due to the cursed blood of the Demon King, Muzan, his injury was already healed. But she was already moving. She wasn't going to wait for his injury to heal. Her Zoe sandals barely whispered against the snow as she jumped onto his back. He thrashed violently, trying to buck her off, his roar shaking the air. Her cold hands clasped onto the thick stone plating across his back. Ice submerged into her palms, not forming a weapon, but invading. It seeped into the metacritic cracks beneath his stony hide, expanding with reckless, explosive force. She grunts as he thrashes like a raging bull, his granite hands trying to claw her off his back. But unfortunately, he couldn't reach her. His form was too bulky, too rough. Her fingers dug deeper, ice spreading like invasive roots beneath his stone plates. "Ugh, you bitch!" The demon screamed, a roar, guttural sound that tore through the forest. His stony hide groaned under the pressure, not from her strength, but from the ice inside him. It expanded, relentlessly, filling cracks and fissures he didn't know he had. Tiny pops echoed beneath his plating muscles, fibers, freezing and snapping. He buckled wildly, trying to dislodge her, but her grasp was iron-clad, implying by frost wielding her hands to his spine. "Get off me!" he bellowed, desperate, cracking his roar. He clasped his fist into the ground, sending terrors through the frozen earth, rocks erupting from them, sharp projectiles aimed at her back. Thinking quick ice shards formed behind her turbulent, jagged walls indicating the rock's snarls with sharp cracks. Debris rained down harmlessly. Her focus never wavered. The ice-embedded his body reached critical mass. Just freezing him wasn't enough. She needed to get his blood, his core, his heart, his brain, everything. Within her free hand, she conjured up a dagger made of ice, sharpened to a minuscule edge. Wasting no time, the shards violently at his back. Aiming to the gaps between the stone plates, the ice blade twisted deep, finding purchases in the soft tissue beneath, blood thick and dark, welled up instantly around the ground. The demon screamed, a raw, gruesome sound of agony and fury. With the tissue now exposed, she discarded the dagger and places her hand onto the flesh wound, her palm with thick, warm of his blood. Instantly, she channeled her power inwardly, not freezing the blood, not supercooling it. The thick, dark fluid crystallization inside his veins expanded with violent speed. She felt the ice shards tearing through his arteries and muscles like glass sharpened. His thrashing turned frantic, desperate, as he tried to roll, to crush her beneath his bulk, but she clung like frostbite itself, the ice sharps from her hand bracing out through his critical system, invading once his core. His roars croaked into wet gargles as frozen spikes turned into his lungs within, piercing. Crimson ice bloomed gruesomely from his mouth and nostrils. She felt the frantic pulse of the demon life force beneath her palm, a frantic, panic beat drum, slowing, thickening, hardening. His struggles grew weaker and jerky. The stone plating covering his back began to crack and splinter, not from the impact, but from the pressure of the ice expanding inside of him. With a final wet grasp, the frozen solid in his throat, the light vanished from his eyes. His massive body went eerily still, locking in gruesome sculpture of ice and snow. She pushed herself off the frozen corpse, nearly stumbling in the crimson-stained snow. Her breath misted and unnaturally cold. Around her, the snow hollowed, but the frantic drumbeat of approaching bloodlust was faded. The Otsotso lured had done its work. The inanimate board lay dead on the frozen forest. Silence descended, broken only by the breeze whistling through the trees. Still, not enough. The words escaped her lips in a frosty plum, barely audible over the wind. Her eyes scanned the carnage-frozen corpse, crimson ice sculptures glistening gruesomely under the moonlight. The Ochako lured had drawn dozens, all dead, yet the hollow ache inside her remained, colder than ice could conjure. She was dissatisfied. Neither of them was upper moon, just weaklings, expendable pawns that Muzan forgot, or didn't even care about. Their deaths meant nothing. They weren't worth the effort. They weren't worth the Otoko paste still coating her tongue with its cozy melatonin aftertaste. Most importantly, they weren't him. Oh well. Trash taken out meant fewer pawns Muzan could throw at him. Soon, the bastard will be nothing but his queen, king, rook, bishop, and knight protecting him from the demon slayers. She spat onto the snow, the Ochako bitter taste staining the white powder pink. Pointless, utterly pointless. These lesser demons were insects, barely worth energy to be taken to frozen over. Her eyes scanned the frozen carnage, leaving on the stone demon Richard carcass, ice sculptures crystallizing bloom from the shattered torso like absent flowers. Sad. These creatures were once humans who were willingly or unwillingly given up their humanity to become his monsters. Humans who lost their way, humans who lost their families, humans who lost their hearts, humans who lost their mind, humans who lost everything. With a sigh, she continued her journey. The Ochako effects were fading, leaving only a bitter taste and hollow ache in her chest. Her Zori sandals crunched under the frozen crimson snow, leaving tracks that the snow quickly erased. She won't stop. She can't even, until every demon is eradicated. The snow had erased to flurries, revealing jagged peaks clawed at the sky, silencing pests down, broken onto the crouched of the snow, but underfoot and ragged hitched of their own breath. Each step was directed, considering energy, scanning the skeletal trees and wind sculling rock faces, waiting, hunting. Meanwhile, a figure stood silent, covering beneath a jagged, cut-out rock. His breath misted in fragrant air, mingling with a scent of ash and frozen blood. He'd witnessed it all, the slaughter, the terrifying precision of her ice, the way she turned the stone demon into a shattered monument. Fear, cold and sharp, coiled in his gut. He was loved here, barely stronger to be fondled her eminence. Survival seemed to scare him, to flee. This woman was like death incarnated, her kimono white and red, flushed undertouched by gore. Her eyes scanned the slaughter, cold with ice as she commanded. He pressed himself deeper into the rock shadow, trembling. Kill, his instinct shrieked. Kill her now! The Otoko lurked pulse in his veins, a maddening deep beat drum overriding his terror. He couldn't resist. He had to attack, but it seemed, the stone demon's frozen, radiated corpse was now stunk, warning into mere yards away. Saliva froze on his fangs as he croaked out back a whisper. Run, his survival instincts countered. Run while you still can. His muscles coiled, trembling with conflicting urges. One claw hand scraped slightly against the rock. There's no way a human can be this strong, the trembling demon whispered, his voice shallow by the night. He watched her turn on her heel and scamper away, her footsteps crunching softly on the frozen crimson snow. Since when did demon slayers possess demon blood art-like abilities? The cowardly demon's thought raced. He watched her stride away, her black and white kimono streaked with a snowy forest. She was human, yes, a demon slayer, but one that possessed such a terrible power. She was hunting demons. The cowardly demon dug his claws deeper into the rock, icy fear warning with the Ochoko burning compulsion. Run or attack? His limbs trembled. He watched her pause, head tilting slightly, as if listening for the wind whispering through the skeletal pines, as if they told secrets that no one could hear. She hadn't seen him, not yet, but the scent, the cursed scent radiating from her. It was alien, yet like a siren he couldn't silence. His mouth watered uncontrollably, fangs aching to sink into the impossible flesh. Just one bite, the drug poisoned. Just one. However, he refused to move. Suddenly, as if hearing, she snapped her head towards his hiding spot. The cowardly demon froze, breath catching in his own throat. She wore the illusionary mask of a Hanaya, a woman transformed into a demon due to pure rage and vengeance, its features twisted in frozen fury, eyes blasting with glacial fire. It was all it took. To grip by fear, he ran blindly, desperately. He fled deeper into the forest, driven by a primal urge to escape that terrifying gaze. Branches whipped by him, snow blinding him, but he didn't care. He ran, stumbled, scrambling upright, and ran again. The wind stole his panted breath. He didn't look back. He didn't want to die. Something felt off. Akaza had never smelled such a scent before, sharp yet carrying the faint agniconic sweetness of something unfamiliar. It coiled through the forest, a dislocated note that pulled him deeper through the mountain. He had to near the area when suddenly caught the wind of a strange scent. Akaza paused atop a snow-lended tree branch, crimson eyes scanning the valley below. The unnatural cold bit at his skin, sharper than any winter had known. He finds it strange, the weather. It isn't supposed to be winter yet. Winter was still many days away, yet here he was, standing in the middle of a snow-covered forest. The wind, eerily itself, felt unnormally cold, sharp against his skin. Surely he was still in Yosha and not Hokusan. Akaza inhaled deeply. The scent was stronger here, metallic, like fresh blood, layered under an underlying sweetness that didn't belong in the frozen wasteland. It teased at his senses, promising power, danger, but something else. Something he couldn't quite place. Ah! The piece is suddenly interrupted by a terrified shriek. Akaza glanced down, his ember eyes narrowing. A lower-ranked demon stumbled out from behind the thicket. Wide eyes and trembling, the creature reeked of fear, sweat, and desperation, his claws scrambling uselessly at the snow as he tried to scramble away. Akaza felt his blood boil with annoyance. What the hell? Why is a demon running away? Demons are supposed to be fearless, not cowardly. He dropped silently in front of the cowering demon, blocking his path. The demon froze, eyes widened in terror. You. What are you running from? Akaza's voice cut through the forest, low and dangerous. His amber eyes pinned the trembling demon. Why do you smell of such fear? The demon's eyes widened at the sight of him. Upper Moon 3 Akaza. Akaza's expression remained impassive. Answer me. The demon swallowed hard, fingers trembling, pointing at the direction he'd just fled. A demon slayer. She slayed all of them, like it was nothing. His voice cracked, raising in pitch. She uses ice like demon art, but she's human. His words trembled out like a frantic jumble, eyes darting back towards the carnage he'd escape. Akaza's brow furrowed. He mustn't possess demon blood art. Yet the scent carried undeniable power, cold, sharp, and laced with that strange sweetness. It indicated him. This anomaly. A woman strong enough to slaughter demons effortlessly, wielding a power equal to his own domain of destruction? His usual disdain for fighting females warmed with a burning curiosity. Akaza tilted his head, the scent sharpening his nostrils. Where? The word was a low growl, vibrating resentless immense. The demon scampered, pointing his shaky claw deepened within the snowy forest. There, I believe she was heading further up the mountain, he exclaims before turning to Akaza with a pleading expression. Please, Lord Akaza, she's no ordinary demon slayer. She's invincible. Akaza's hand shot out, clasping onto the demon's skull with a brutal efficiency. Enough. Your weakness disgusts me, he stated, his voice devoid of influence. His fingers tightened. Wait, please, I beg of you. Your spineless weaklings, your pathetic insolence deserves nothing but obliteration. I'm not gonna crack something. But crack! The demon's pleas ended abruptly, and Akaza's fingers clamped down with a sickening crunch. Bone wielding like rotten wood, brains and dark blood oozed beneath his knuckles. He tossed the limp body aside like garbage, watching it crumble into the snow. The scent pulled him onwards. The sharp, icy tang lingered in the cloying sweetness. A woman wielding ice? The contraction burned in his mind. He avoided fighting and hurting females. It was odd instinct etched deep within him, a boundary his fists refused to cross. Yet this power, it was deep, invisible cold that seemed to seep into his own bones. He could feel it pickering at his demonic flesh. A subtle warning. However, the scent was undeniable. A challenge, a mystery, a power that defied the natural order. His fists clenched, knuckles popping. He could feel the cold intensifying, a physical pressure against his skin, a whisper of danger that resonated within the core of his being. This was something new, something potentially worthy. He needed to see her, to understand this condition, this contraction, the want to see and find whoever this was.